this weekend. I don't know what's happening for you guys, but hey, my name is Misha. I help people understand insulin resistance and what may be happening with their health because it's important so that we all can start to get better from all of the things that I show up here. Um, you guys, it's amazing how many things actually are linked into insulin resistance and why that's causing the problem. So, look, when we are burning fuel, when we're hungry, when our body needs energy, we're either burning glucose for fuel or sugar, or we're burning fat for fuel. When we're burning sugar, we're using insulin. Okay, so insulin is being pumped up in our systems so much that it becomes what we call hyperinsulinemia. Too much of it. When it becomes too much, then we get to be resistant to it, and then all of these things start to happen. So scientists and physicians say that 93% of us are suffering from having a high level of insulin, and that means that 93% of us are metabolically unhealthy, and it leads into all. If you're suffering with some of these things, and there's more on that list than those, then hang out for a second, ask some questions, and start to get some real answers as to why you may be sick. And yes, when you're insulin resistant, most likely you're going to be putting on weight. You cannot put on weight without excess insulin in your system. Insulin is an energy transporter. So when we eat that food and it converts into energy in our system, it's transporting that to all the cells in the body. And when they're resistant to it, it starts storing our storage house as fat. And that's what happens, why we get fat. So if you've been told to just lose weight and that's going to fix all of your problems, well, why don't we take a look at why you're gaining weight in the first place? Yeah, a lot of us could eat better. Yeah, a lot of us eat way too much. There's that, right? But at the bottom of all of these weight disorders are hormones. So when we are only addressing calories, we're not addressing what's really going on with our health and why we're getting heavier and heavier, why our bellies are poking out like this one up here, why all of that's happening. So you don't have to be overweight to have that belly poking out. If your belly's poking out and you're not overweight, then you probably ought to take a look at the fact that you're insulin resistant, because people can be insulin resistant without the appearance of excess fat or extreme obesity. So how many of you guys have ever been told that you're born with a certain amount of fat cells and that's the only fat cells you have the rest of your life? They either just get bigger and smaller depending on what you're doing in that part of your life. So how many of you guys think that you have the same fat cells that you were born with and that's it? Because I did. I'd love to talk about that. If anybody's interested, let me know. I'd like to talk about why some people are insulin resistant and they're not heavy, and why some people are extremely obese and they have insulin resistance, more so why they're being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and either lean or obese. Why that happens, if anybody's interested, I'd love to talk about that. But what is it you guys want to talk about? Because it's Friday afternoon. I'm all about just dealing with whatever anybody wants to hear about. I did some videos on skin tags yesterday. I'll be doing a little bit on psoriasis. And then next week I was going to do something different, but I'm going to talk about aging, how all this affects your bones and a little bit more about your skin and aging with insulin resistance, why I got to the point where I lost 3 joints, all of that. But one of my posts on another platform, a man said, somebody asked how to get rid of the skin tags, and the guy said, I just have my doctor burn them off with liquid nitrogen. And I'm like, didn't I just say stop having? But it wasn't in that post. But in the other post I said it. So you guys, skin tags are a resultant of insulin resistance. So if you're going in and having this liquid nitrogen, if you're having them rubber banded or cut off, stop it. They're just going to come back. Honestly, they're just going to come back. So if you want to get rid of them for good, if they're plaguing you, whether you're younger or whether you're older, they're one of your body's early warning signs that you have insulin resistance. So stop burning them off and ignoring them. Like, if you had a broken leg, would you just get up and start walking anyway and be like, it's not broken, it's okay? No, we're doing that with our bodies all the time. When we think of insulin resistance, we just kind of like push all these symptoms down and aside and say, yeah, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And then all of a sudden one day you're not okay and you're wondering what has happened and why life looks like it does. That happened to me, but nobody talked to me about insulin resistance. You guys, I would love to know, has your doctor ever talked to you about insulin resistance? Has your doctor ever run a test for you on your fasting insulin levels? Has your doctor ever dealt with any of this when you go to them for all of these symptoms? And especially guys, erectile dysfunction, has any doctor ever told you that if you simply get your insulin levels under control, which is a dietary disorder, that your testosterone levels will rebound and that your function will come back? Or do they just start giving you all these pills and weird stuff to do? Because ladies with PCOS, it's the same thing. You don't have to live with that. And I did some videos on that a few weeks ago, because I know I have lots of videos, so I keep trying to redo them so you guys can find them all. But there's a ton of videos in my profile of all of these things. So at the root of this, what's happening, you guys, is we eat too much. That food that we eat gets turned into energy too quickly. That's causing the problem. So if we can address the two things that are happening, so we all know we're eating too much. We don't need to eat every 2 hours. And there's so many creators that are saying, eat every 2 hours, or, eat 5 times a day, eat before you're hungry. That's going to help your metabolism. Well, that's crazy, because the science says absolutely the opposite. And metabolic scientists and doctors in the field of metabolism would tell you exactly the opposite of what they're saying. So we need to eat less. So yes, I do some intermittent fasting. But when we do eat, even when we do eat, I still eat about the same amount of calories. I just have it in a shorter time period. But I also make sure that those calories are not converting into sugar in my bloodstream so quickly. Now, how is that happening to us? Because fiber has been stripped out of our foods. Our foods are all manufactured, modified, they've been played with, they've been messed with, and we're getting sick as a result because our bodies don't know what to do with these foods when some of the things that were built into them to protect us from these things have been stripped out. So your hair starts falling out. Are you a female? Yes, Nikki, you're female. So let's talk about this just real quick, or as long as you need to. Were you ever diagnosed with PCOS? It doesn't really matter. You may have been or not, but when you have insulin resistance as a woman, one of the things that starts to happen is that your ovaries stop converting testosterone as much. So there's a couple of ways this can happen. So your ovaries are not converting. Let's slow down because I forget that I have all this in the back of my head. We have 2 types of sex hormones in our body, androgens and estrogens. We start with androgens and then they're converted into estrogens. In an insulin-resistant body with a woman, those androgens aren't being converted into estrogens. So now you get like this excess hair growth on your face, but your hair is falling out. Male pattern baldness. 2.5 years ago, I had clumps of hair coming out. I actually have short pieces of hair here. My hair's been growing in up front. And then this whole spot right here was balding. You can see those shorter pieces. That's all new growth from 2.5 years ago when I started learning about insulin resistance and getting it under control. So insulin resistance in the fact of hormones causes that. Then there's just also this fact that when we're insulin resistant, our cells are not getting the energy they need. So if we break it down super simply, when we eat, that's supposed to be energy for our system, okay? Then when we have that energy in our bloodstream, because now it's gone through our gut and it's converted and it's put it into the bloodstream. So now the body says, oh, there's all this energy in the bloodstream, and it tells the pancreas to create insulin. And so then insulin starts being pumped out in your body, and that carries that energy to every single cell in your body because your cells all need energy, right? Now, what happens in the presence of too much insulin all the time, our cells are saying, I don't want you anymore, stay away. And so a lot of our cells are not getting enough energy in. So we start to have problems with brain fog and whatnot, but we also are starting to lose hair. We're starting to lose our eyesight for various reasons. And we're having muscle loss, bone loss, ligament and tissue loss, all because the energy that those cells need to replicate is not getting to them now when they're insulin resistant. On the other hand, some cells will take up too much insulin because there's so much in the system, right? So some cells are like, stay away, and some cells are, I'll take what you can give. Well, that's how we get skin tags and this acanthosis nigricans. But the hair loss is on the other side. They're like, nope, between the androgens not converting and just not getting enough energy to those areas, there's a lot of that happening. It also affects your vascularity, so you're not getting blood flow to areas which you need the blood flow to deliver the energy. A lot of things start to happen like that. I talked about, when it was last week or the week before, I talked about blood pressure. But in those videos about blood pressure, what's happening to your blood vessels, that makes sense why energy's not getting to the rest of the body. If it can't be, hey, from New Zealand. I have an affinity for New Zealand. I have a friend that her name is, I'm sure I'm going to butcher the name, Sonia Manana. She was a world champion powerlifter. I never got to compete on stage with her. I met her when she had already stopped competing, and one of my bucket lists is to come to New Zealand and hang out with Sonia and visit that beautiful land. It's it's amazing every time I see somebody from New Zealand in here. So thank you for saying hello. I hope that answers your question about why you may be losing hair with diabetes. You guys, yeah, I want to come over. I think this last year I have been traveling so much. The next year or two, I think I want to make a plan to get down there. Hello from Modesto. I have my stepsister lives in Modesto. What is with you guys today? Yeah, I do have a stepsister who lives in Modesto. That's just crazy. So how do you get it to start growing back? Well, you have to start to become insulin sensitive. You guys, what we need to do is stop eating so often. And for most of us, that, yes, we're making connections today. I love that. But most of us cannot just stop eating like that, right? I tried. You guys, I am not a lazy person, a weak-willed person, but intermittent fasting and cutting back seemed horrible for me because insulin resistance also causes you to become food addicted. I'm not going to explain a little bit of that later too. But what we really need to do is slow down how much we're eating, not as in count calories, exercise more, but as in we don't need to eat every 2 hours. Most people, when they say eat every 2 hours or eat 6 times a day, studies were showing that most people were eating upwards of 12 times a day instead of just 6. And they weren't aware of it because they're snacking all the time. Well, that constant snacking, remember, when we eat, we're creating energy. When we're creating energy, insulin comes out. When we have that insulin level like that, it starts to rise and rise and rise and rise. And then that gets stuck up there. We've trained our body to put out a certain amount of insulin, and so it's up there and it doesn't like to come down a lot. So we need to slow down how much we eat. I do eat sugar from time to time. I try to avoid it. I don't think I ate anything with sugar in it yesterday at all. But and certainly not today. But yeah, as much as you can avoid sugar, absolutely. I will talk about 6 simple steps in a second, but I want to show you what I did really quick to get all of this under control, and I don't have my tea packet. I lost it. Doesn't matter. So what I'm doing right now is I'm aware that we're eating too much, so I'm supporting my body in not feeling hungry all the time. And you guys, when we're insulin adapted, it's really hard for us to start burning fat in our bodies to be like, oh, we should be switching, because we've trained our bodies to use insulin all the time. Insulin blocks down blocks fat breakdown, it blocks fat burning, but it increases fat storage. Yes, fruit counts, and I'll explain that. Remind me about fruit in a minute. So what I do is before that, we're also devoid of fibers. I talked about that a little bit. So the two things I do is I do some intermittent fasting. I pretty much eat what I want. I eat ketoistic. I'm of course aware of not eating a ton of sugar, because that's causing part of the problem, right? So a little bit of intermittent fasting. I get fiber in before I eat every time I eat. So I'm going to show you why, Kelly. So you may be insulin adapted, and that's hard to overcome, especially if when you're eating, it's just driving the insulin up too high again. So what I do is I have a tea in the morning, and that tea, and I'm actually having another one now because I can have it all day long. It gives me energy, gives me mental clarity. It tastes great, and I either have this or water most days. Much healthier for my body. So many components in this that are feeding my brain and my body. It has anti-cancer, antioxidant properties in it. It's a natural tea from Argentina, and the Argentinian soccer team uses this tea before this form of tea before they are at all of their world championships or their soccer matches, their football matches. So it gives you energy. It helps you stay alert and focused. It helps you burn your own fat for fuel. It's heart healthy. It's helping regulate blood pressure. So low blood pressure up, high blood pressure down. Then when I do eat, it's not matcha tea, no. But I do drink matcha tea as well. I drink a really highly purified form of matcha tea. But for the first, when I went from the 270 pounds down to under 220, all I did was the yerba mate in this form. Now I'm going to explain why this yerba mate is different in a second. Then, now I'll do it now. So our yerba mate, by the way, it's hand-picked. It's never machine harvested. So when they machine harvest, you get whatever leaf at whatever time of ripeness. Our farmers own their own farms. They go out, they hand-pick the leaves, so they know they're not picking leaves that are old. They're not picking leaves that are too green. They're getting the right leaf at the right time. Then we take it to a fire roasting process to release those components that we're trying to get to you out of the bulk of the plant. Then we extract them, concentrate them, and then lastly we send it to a lab in Switzerland where they go through a process called hyperpure to remove any environmental toxins like pesticides and some of those PAHs from fire roasting and all of that. And there's 375 times the chlorogenic acids in our tea as in a standard bagged yerba mate tea. So when we're talking about chlorogenic acids, that's one of the things that's allowing to get to the brain to help you start to become more insulin sensitive in the brain, have better uptake of dopamine and serotonin, and a number of other things, mood and metabolism. There's 375 times of that in this over the standard bagged yerba mate tea. Plus, those bagged yerba mate teas are often machine harvested and they're not purified. So when I think about, I said, okay, well, what if I only steeped 30 bags of that tea? I would still spend more than, so 30 bags of that tea would cost me more than one packet of this. But now I'm getting all those pesticides and toxins, and I can't even be assured that I'm going to get the quality that I need. So I do this tea, plus this just mixes in water. I'll be traveling tomorrow, so I will be taking a couple of these bottles with me. I just mix it in the bottle, shake it up, and then I drink it down, or I take a container like this to mix it in. So that's the tea. Then before I eat, because we need fibers, and I know that when I'm out and about all the time, I don't always get in the fibers I need. I have lint all over my shirt. That I supplement with my fibers. And it takes a variety of fibers. So these are 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers that have been scientifically designed and compiled to help reduce your blood glucose and help reduce cholesterol. So this I drink, same thing, mix it in, put it in a bottle, shake it up, drink it down 10 minutes before I eat. and then I eat whatever I like. Of course I try to do better, but you guys, tomorrow I don't know what food's gonna be available for me when I'm so far away from home when I get there. I don't know if they're gonna have stuff that's healthy within reach. I don't know. So I just take this, and that means I don't have to worry about all of that. So 3 packets in a day, the tea and 2 of the pre-meal drinks. That's how I've gotten my diabetes reversed. It's reversed. We did some labs early this year, and every single one of my markers is in control. My A1C was like 5.3. My morning blood sugars are like 98. My triglycerides are like 138. Every single marker is in control. Watch my skin and all these other things. So the tea, you guys, in order, and it's not just a tea, remember, it's a 2-part, 3-step system. Tea in the morning, pre-meal drink. In fact, I drink this before anything I eat. I'll pick up my grandson tomorrow night. If he wants to have something when he gets home tomorrow, and I have anything with him, I will just have another one of these. So you're just gonna go to my profile, and on Facebook I'll be putting that link in here for you guys. Give me just a second. But on TikTok, you guys are just gonna come to my profile. Click on my picture up above. That's going to take you to my profile. You'll see these 2 red lights, and right under them you'll see the link. This looks red, but yours will be black. When you click on that link, it's going to take you to this page. Right at the top is where you're going to click to order the products that I use that have helped me overcome all of these things. You can ask me and I'll tell you about all of them. Make sure it says Michelle Fayant at the top. That means I'm an authorized distributor. You get the same price that I pay for it when you order through me. You get a 90-day money-back guarantee, you get a quality guarantee, and you get that low price guarantee. So then you just click on Buy Now, and when you get to the site, you have, this is your month, right? So you have 30 of the tea, 60 of the pre-meal drink, and the tea I didn't mention, you can have it hot or cold, so you get to choose between lemon or lemon ginger. And the pre-meal drink right now has this special flavor, but I think they're going to be out of this by the end of the month. So if you want to try Apple Crush, that's my favorite flavor. Get it now. You can get the orange anytime. Then you get to choose between one-time purchase and monthly subscription. Guys, you can cancel this at any time, but it's going to save you, like, look, it saves you $5 off and free delivery. That's about $15 savings right there. Plus the first order, you get this free hand mixer, and you get that bottle that I've been showing you guys. So just leave it on subscription. If you need to cancel it, it's not hard. They send you out emails all the time. They'll send you out an email before your next order goes out that says, hey, your order's about to be shipped. And when that happens, then you can say, okay, I can't do this again, or I need to do a different date, or I want to try a different flavor. It makes it super easy. You're not. Yes, they do. We do ship to New Zealand. We have a distribution center. I think it's in Singapore down there, but we have distribution centers all across the world. And so when you use that IP address, it's shipping to you from a location near you. It's not all coming from the US. We have distributions, and I'm going to miss some because I'm not naming them all, but we have distribution centers here in the US, in Canada. We have them in Singapore. We have them in the UK. So Ireland, France, and the UK all have shipping. We have shipping distribution centers in the UAE. So yeah, you guys, we can get it to you wherever you're at in the world, as long as we're allowed to ship into your country. So since this is a nutritional product that we have to go through countries to get there, and we're working hard. Last year, not even 6 months ago, as a system, we were only able to get it into about 20 countries. Now we're in like 34 worldwide, and our team is continually expanding, trying to get this across the world, because with 93% of us insulin resistant, it means that 93% of us could really use something like this to make it super easy and sustainable. And by the way, I rarely talk about it, and maybe I should more, but we do have a referral program. So if you buy and you're like, your mother, your sister, your friend, or whatever is like, what are you doing? I want some. You get your own referral code. When you refer them, you get a $10 credit on your next month's purchase, and or your next purchase. And so that makes it really easy for everybody. I have so many people who are like, yeah, moms, sisters, wives, husbands, whatever, and they start on it. I get lots of wives starting on it and their husbands want it. And so, yeah, why not save yourself some money, use that referral, and get it for a little bit cheaper in your household. Okay, guys, so what were some of the questions I'm missing? Because I know there were a couple up there I said I was going to address. So, Kelly, that whole thing of when we eat, if our food is turning into glucose or sugar too quickly and it gets into our system, it's causing that high level of insulin or hyperinsulinemia. The sad thing that most people don't realize is when we eat like that, it's causing us to be trained that high. I know for me, it took a while for me to get adapted to not using insulin for fuel all the time. So even if you're only eating one meal a day, and I will have to go back and look through Fung and Bickman's books. One thing I might suggest to you too, though, Kelly, something that I'm doing because asked about fruit. Let me talk about this real quick and then remind me fruit. CJ, thank you so much. So I switched this just last week from doing a 16-8 fast to doing a 36-hour fast and then a 12-hour fast because I'm 59, because I have a lot of damaged cells throughout the body and I have some fat that's been there for a long, long time that needs to go. And so when I go past 24 hours of fasting, right when you hit 24 hours is about when your body start to really adapt to being able to use fat for fuel. It's starting to adapt before that, but between hours 24 and 36, it does a really good job. Now you're starting to get new stem cells growing. Now you're starting to get your new gut cells growing. Now you're starting to get your gut really reset and all of that. So for me, it's easy. If you're already going 24 hours, why not just sleep the next night off and then allow yourself a 12-hour period to get some real nutrition in the next day, still paying attention to your sugars and see how that goes. That might be something you look at trying if OMAD's not working for you. They've found that people who do OMAD are actually getting in less nutrients than people who do 16-8 or the 36-12. So fruits. They are a different type of sugar, right? So they have this sugar in them called fructose. You all have seen that. We like say some products, and they're getting them out of a lot of things now, but high fructose corn syrup, right? So that's a really crazy thing. How do you take a vegetable sugar and have it high fructose? Because they've added a lot of fruit sugar into that corn syrup, so that this is high fructose now, but fructose is in fruits. So when you have fructose in something that you're eating, it's converting into some glucose and a lot of fructose. The fructose has to be then converted through your liver. That's why we're seeing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and a number of these things, like women who are losing their gallbladders, children with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease at the age of 6 now. That's not just the real fruit, but it's mostly from the fruit juices. I love fruit also, but I just treat it as if it's a dessert. And I will tell you the fruits that are actually good for you with insulin resistance, that are safer for you to eat. Because one of my favorite fruits, pineapple, happens to be, although it has bromelain in it, which is really good, it's also converting into that sugar way quicker than some other fruits. So I always make sure I have this before I have fruits anyway. If I have a high amount of fruits in a meal, I'll just have an extra one of these. You guys, this is food. You can have more than 2 in a day. This is not like those medications you jab into your side and all of that you're in trouble if you have to have more, right? So Fructose is just really hard on your liver. For a long time, because I thought I was doing the healthy thing for my kids and my family, only allowed fruit juice in the home. We didn't have soda. We didn't have all those other drinks. My kids will tell you we didn't have anything good in the house when we were, in school. I thought I had healthy food in the house, but we drank a lot of fruit juice, ate a lot of fruit. I ended up losing my gallbladder. So fruits are good, but if you're giving your children fruit all the time, and that's the primary basis of their meals, you could be causing them damage. So I say that with a little evidence behind it, or I like to think it's evidence. 2 years ago, I went up to Washington State to help my daughter, and she helped me too. But I was in her house watching her children while she took a new job, and I started noticing that, like, when she would have this, I think she calls it dealer's choice, where they get to pick whatever they want. She goes to the grocery store, each kid picks what they want for dinner. My granddaughter would always pick like one of those fruit bowls, nothing but fruit. And I'm like, are you going to get any protein? Are you going to get, like, she's like, no, this is healthy. This is what I want to eat. This is, and she would just eat bowls of fruit. And she didn't really eat candies or any of that stuff. She was just eating a lot of fruit and very little protein, but she also drank fruit juice. And I started noticing the dark skin patches on her, and she was kind of getting chunky. And although she wasn't overeating, she was getting chunky and she was having these dark skin patches. So I told my daughter, I said, hey, I think she's leaning to diabetic. We should get her checked. And sure enough, she was pre-diabetic at 11 years old. I think at the time she was 9 or 10. She was already pre-diabetic because she was eating too much fruit. So we've gotten her to understand that fruit's good, but we've got to moderate how much fruit we're eating. So the fruits, I said I was going to tell you about fruits that are good. Dr. Lee, who wrote the book Food as Medicine, when he was asked, I was watching a podcast with him on it. I stumbled on Dr. Lee, by the way, but he had some really great information, and so now I got to get his book because I haven't read it. But he was asked if he had to pick 5 foods to eat. Yeah, we are, right? It's crazy. But part of that is that our foods have been modified. When we look at peaches, peaches used to be pretty small, right? I usually have my AirPods case here. I do. So peaches, if you look them up, used to be about the size of this, and they were crunchy and they were a little bit bitter. They had a little bit of sweetness to them, but there was a ton of fiber in those peaches, and we wanted something juicier, sweeter. So now the peaches we get, even the organic ones, are these big things that are like the size of my fist, and they just like have juices that flow all over your face when you bite into them, and they're so sweet and good. But our foods have been modified. They continue to modify them so they can grow bigger. There's a reason why, like raspberries, when we grew up on a family farm in North Idaho, the biggest raspberries were like the size of the tip of my pinky. We were excited to find those. Raspberries were tiny. They weren't extremely sweet. We knew the ones that were bigger were going to be sweeter. Now I'll see raspberries consistently the size of the tip of my thumb. So fibers have been stripped out to get those natural raspberries that we used to grow to this size. And it didn't sink in as much to me until, I think it wasn't last summer, it was the summer before. I went back home and I went to Montana where we lived for a while, and there was still our old raspberry patch there. And I went out into the raspberry patch, seeds and growth that had not been touched by all this modification. And sure enough, those raspberries were tiny. So our fruit, it's not just that they're high in fructose, but it's that they've stripped the fiber from it so that the fiber is not slowing down how quickly that's delivering to the liver. Now we're overworking the liver and the body because of the amount of sugars and fructose in those fruits. So back to Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, when he was asked what are some of the foods, if he had to choose 5 foods, what would he choose? And I cannot remember all 5, but the one that stuck with me, I got to go back and watch that podcast and read his book. I'll probably add it to my recommendations list, but I want to read it first. Fruits, he said pears over berries. Pears are high in fiber, and I have pears in my fridge now all the time. They last well. They're extremely yummy. I've been doing some breakfast shakes on my eating day with pears in it and some healthy fats, and they're really good and filling. But pears also, remember I talked about chlorogenic acids with the tea that I drink. The pears are high in chlorogenic acids, not as high as the tea, but remember those chlorogenic acids are going to help you feel more alert. They're going to help with your metabolism. They're going to help you feel happier. So less anxiety, less depression, and more of this happiness score. So pears, guys. I know we've all been told berries. I still eat berries though. I mean, we want to switch it up, right? I think I have 3 kinds of pears in there. Kiwi's also a good fruit, but I have a couple of kiwis. I have some pears, and we ate up the raspberries I had because they go bad much quicker, right? So those are the fruits that I would focus on is pears, number 1, and then berries, number 2, and then kiwi after that. And then, like if you're going to do apples, oranges, great. But be aware that one fruit, since we're talking about fruit, there's a fruit that everybody eats, and I know as a I was never a bodybuilder, as a power lifter, the bodybuilders and everybody were always telling us there's a fruit that we should have before we work out so that we have energy. Stop doing that. Stop it. But that fruit, can anybody guess what that fruit is that it's really high in fructose, it's really high on the glycemic scale, it causes a lot of these problems, and we also add it into smoothies. Does anybody have any idea what fruit that is? Terry, sorry I didn't see your message over on Facebook. So you get insulin resistance under control by stopping eating constantly and making sure that you're getting healthy fibers into your diet. Those are the 2 ways that you're going to do that. And I will show the protocol here again in a minute, but does anybody know what that fruit is? I'll give you a second. No, it's not mango. But you're kind of close. It's a much more available fruit than that. People eat it much more often. No, strawberries are actually really good. They're lower in fructose and they're high in fiber. So the strawberries have a lot that keep us from converting that. And oranges are not it either. Oranges I think they're medium glycemic. Avocado is great, but avocado is a fat and it doesn't have fructose in it. So I'm talking about bananas. Watermelon is also really high on the glycemic scale. Watermelon has some good components in it, so I'm not saying ditch any of these. Just don't eat it all the time. Okay, watermelon as a treat, great. Apples have more fiber in them, more fructose than pears. So pears, if it was apples or pears, I would choose an apple. But bananas. And so then the other thing is, good for you. No, I love bananas, and I was like, what? So they're really high on the glycemic scale, which means they're converting into sugar in your system too quickly. And it's a lot of fructose, which is putting a load on your liver. The interesting thing one of these doctors was talking about was that when we put bananas in smoothies, so any fruit we put in smoothies, including the pears that I put in, but the pears because they're so high in fiber, it holds shape a little bit better. But when we put bananas in smoothies, we're pre-masticating that banana. So now the fibers are already broken down and they don't do their job as well. And then it's already high glycemic. So when we're doing these fruit smoothies, we're actually now we're not at a whole fruit and we're not as bad as fruit juice, but we've kind of broken everything down somewhere in between. And so we're still getting the sugar into our body too quickly. So be careful with fruit smoothies. And I don't have any say over your life. When I say I'm okay with, I'm talking about me. But I don't mind having a fruit smoothie once in a while, as if I was going to have a cupcake or something like that, but I don't do it all the time. Whew, Pat Angie. Insulin resistance, it's sugar resistance. I would love for you to send me the science on that. Excess sugar causes insulin. Insulin is a hormone, very different thing than the energy source of sugar. It's the resistance to getting the insulin, which insulin is carrying the sugar, but you can't have sugar resistance if you don't have insulin resistance. So check yourself. How to deal with low energy. So I don't know what you're eating like, and I do agree with. Let's think. I'm going to tell you the 6 simple tips that I go over with. So low energy is part of insulin resistance and the hormonal dysregulation and whatnot that's going on with that. You start to be resistant to the insulin that's carrying that energy around, and your cells just are not getting it. So you're tired even though you're eating all the time, right? So you're hungry because you feel like you need energy. So you eat more, but then you get more tired, especially after you eat, because you've spiked your insulin, and that's trying to run this energy throughout the body, and the cells don't want it. Now it's storing it as fat. So to get your energy back, I would, you've got to work on becoming more insulin sensitive. How I did it, and this is why the system that I talk about works so well for me, and I'm going to show it again here in a second. This tea that I drink in the morning, which is actually what's in both of these cups. I have some in both cups. This helps give me energy. The first day they had diagnosed me as adrenal fatigue, and I know they don't like that name now. A lot of people don't, but I had extreme fatigue. My cortisol levels were out of whack. The day one that I started drinking this tea, I was like, wait, what? I have energy. I don't hurt from the inside out. I'm not needing to take a nap all day long. You guys, when I was a world champion powerlifter, this is my day. I would get up, I would get to work. By lunchtime, I'm dragging. It felt like somebody stuck a vacuum cleaner to me and sucked all my energy out. I would run down to the car, roll up the windows, pull a blanket over my head, kick the seat back, set an alarm, and pass out for my lunch. I was exhausted. Then after work, I would get to the gym, and same thing. I'd look at the inside the gym windows and be like, I just can't go in there right now. Back goes the seat, up goes the blanket. Didn't set an alarm. I'm just like, when I wake up, and I would pass out until I woke up, and then I would wipe my face off, run in, and do a 3-hour workout. Okay, so that's because I was so insulin resistant. Now I was doing keto at the time. I was working 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, but I was still not converting sugars properly in my system because it had been trained so long, and I wasn't doing intermittent fasting. Okay, so get the insulin under control. 6 tips that I do to get my insulin under control, and that you can do with or without the protocol. Like, look, there's people who can do it without, but the protocol helps those of us who are struggling and just want to not have to struggle with one more thing in life, right? We're all struggling so much every day that it's hard to do our daily thing, and then we talk about all this food. So fiber first, because we've talked about how that fiber slows down the sugar from delivering into the system and spiking your insulin. The next thing you should be eating when you look at your plate, and this is, so the order I'm giving them to you is the order you should be eating in. So your fiber first, and I make sure I get that fiber that I supplement with 10 minutes before I eat, every time I eat. Then I'm going to make sure that I have a good amount of protein on my plate, and a good amount just means like 20 to 30 grams. Okay, I'm not talking 120 grams like when I was powerlifting. And then fats. So fiber first, and then proteins, and then fats. But you guys have been told the wrong fats, so we're going to come back to that. Then last come your carbs, and limit your carbs and try to keep them complex carbs. Yes, so like at breakfast, most of the time I'll have like a pear or something as my carb. I'm human though. I like, every once in a while, not very often, but every once in a while, I want to have a pancake with my grandson, or French toast with my grandson. I'm going to have it. I just use this to help protect me from it before I do it. Okay, but it's not like I'm doing it every day. So limit your carbs. Do some time-based eating, which we recommend you start with like a 16-8 fast, and I can explain why we recommend that if anyone wants to know. And then the last one that I say is to move your body. So a body that's moving, those muscles are going to be open to taking in this insulin that's coursing through our veins, which is delivering energy to those muscles. So if you're all day in traffic to your job or at a desk at your job, your muscles are never saying, hey, I need extra energy. Okay, and you're actually having muscle loss with insulin resistance. And if you go to the calorie counting and all that stuff, you actually lose more muscle at first and less fat. So the protocol that I'm using helps you maintain muscle, actually build muscle, and lose fat, opposite of what is happening with most other diets. So yes, Tanya Lee, fiber first, fat. No, Tanya, we're going to switch that around. I want to tell you why. And I'm going to invite you to switch it around too. It should be fiber, protein, and then fat, and carbohydrates last. So why do I say that? A number of doctors have talked about this as well. So fat does not spike your insulin, right? I'm sure you know that, Tanya. So fat does not spike your insulin. Fiber does not spike your insulin. Protein and carbs spike your insulin. Protein spikes it about half as much as carbs. High glycemic part. Hold up. So if you want the tea and the fiber, just go to my profile and click on the link there. You'll find it all in there. Okay? So, and it makes it super easy. They just mix in water. But why protein first? Because I used to, and I'm going to, like, you guys, I'm evolving too. Okay? So for the longest time, I did that too, FFP. Fiber, fat, protein, because we're thinking that fats are not, that they're not spiking our insulin and they're satiating, but fats are less satiating than protein, and we need those building blocks in the protein. So fiber first, and then protein, and then your fats. So now you're getting your building blocks in, and you have more satiety factor from the protein than you do from the fats. Your protein also needs fats, and I'll explain that if anybody knows. Does anybody know the close connection between protein and fats? Because I want to explain that. So, Tanya, change it up. Fiber, protein, fats, and then carbohydrates last. There have been multiple people who have tested, and they've taken a simple plate of food, same measurements, same food on 2 different days, and had that, they had their carbohydrates, their fats, their protein, all there, and they just simply switch up the order they ate it in. And when they eat it with carbs first, you're going to get the highest insulin spike. Okay, when you eat it in that order of fiber, protein, and fats, your insulin spike comes down, but you stay fuller longer, which is going to help you from having breakthrough hunger and wanting to grab for another snack. So yeah, good fats. So good fats are important. What do I mean by good fats? Good fats are going to be things like avocado, butter, ghee, duck fat, the animal fats, but then also avocado oil, coconut oil, and extra virgin olive oil. What you guys, I just learned this. I knew for a long time that avocado oil, like those extra light avocado oils and stuff, those are not real avocado oil. They're using a lot of cottonseed oil as the base of that, and then they add enough avocado in there for it to have a light avocado flavor. The cottonseed oil is extremely inflammatory, and it's not good for you. So if you're doing olive oil, make sure that you're getting extra virgin olive oil. And you guys understand, when you're cooking with these natural oils that I'm talking about, you shouldn't be cooking as high of a heat, which we shouldn't be doing anyway, okay? When we talk about safflower oil, corn oil, all of these vegetable oils, all the really light oils that you see on the shelf in a plastic clear bottle, those are able to sit there like that because they won't go rancid, which means they're full of chemicals. They've been drenched in a solvent called hexane to process them. So they say, oh, they clean the hexane out. How are you going to clean the hexane out of something after you've soaked it in it? and they're forcing something that's not meant to make oil into making oil, and they were developed originally as machine oils. That's why they have such a high flash point. But the powers that be, Rockefeller's being one of them, said, hey, how can we make more money off of this? Well, it's made out of food, so we can market it as a food oil. Stop buying those healthy oils or oils with trans fats in them. They're really causing a lot of inflammation and problems in your body. Stick with the fats I talked about. So, fats and muscle. When you're eating protein and now you're getting that building block, but you want to make sure that you're getting good building blocks into your muscle. So do you guys also the calculation, write this down. If you don't know kilograms, you guys can go to Google and translate it. But it should be 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is the amount of protein you should be getting in. So that's going to look different for everybody. But the bottom line is most people should be getting in at least 60 grams of protein in a day. Now, when I'm eating 2 times a day, that means I want to make sure that I'm aiming for 30 grams of protein in each meal at minimum. Do I need to get 120 grams of protein in? No, I don't. I don't have that activity level, nor do I have that body size anymore. So understand that as well. But back to why proteins and fats are so closely linked. We need proteins. They're what's building our muscle. And remind me to talk about muscle in a second too. But there's a membrane around your muscle that kind of contains those. And that you'll see that membrane when you cook meat, right? That membrane is made up of fat. Without fat, that membrane that's encapsulating that muscle gets really brittle and will break. So when you see, like, it happens a lot with CrossFitters where they're working out really hard, they're eating high amounts of protein and they're taking in lots of creatine to pump up their muscles, but they're also eating low fat. Now they have this muscle that's getting huge, but the membrane around it is brittle. So now they put that muscle under stress and the muscle explodes. And it's rhabdomyolysis. And so now they have this exploded muscle on themselves, wherever it happens to be. That's what's happening. You have to have good, healthy fats along with your protein so that that acts properly in your body. I have an ebook. We're going to go to my website link again. Go there. I didn't put the link over on Facebook. Sorry, you guys. Go to this link, and in there is a free ebook, and it has all of the fats that I just talked about. Plus, you'll get a list of proteins that are good. I'm not a vegan, so I'm not going to lie. I borrowed it from another doctor. I credit him in there because I'm not the aficionado on vegan proteins. But there's a list of proteins you'll get as well. I love avocado for fats. It's high in nutrients and it's a really great fat to get in. So my morning usually is my first meal, break fast, is usually a couple of eggs. By the way, eggs are excellent for you. And when I talk bacon and sausage, I get the no nitrate kind. Even the ham is uncured, no nitrate ham. So I will have like steak and eggs, bacon or sausage and eggs for breakfast. And I will pair that with some avocado or a healthy cheese. And then at the end of the meal, if I still have, I'll get that pair in. So that's about how you should be eating and the way you look. So any other questions, guys? It's almost time. I have a couple of meetings to head to. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I hope I've helped you understand. Before I go, I want to show you again where you can find all of this. So you want to, hard cheeses are better than the super soft ones, but I like brie as well. That's better for you. Eggs with the yolk. So when we're talking cholesterol problems, the sugar and the insulin causing the cholesterol problems, not the eggs, the yolk in the eggs. Okay, so that we've been taught wrong with that too. The cholesterol that's causing problems. Let's go over that really quick for you all. So when we talk about the damming up our veins, what's happening is it's being converted improperly because of excess sugar or insulin in the system. So in the presence of insulin resistance, our low density lipoprotein has two different sizes to it, and most of us don't know that. I've done videos on it before, but there's a type A, which is a big buoyant one, think like a beach ball. And then type B is really tiny, denser, and heavier, and that's think like a golf ball. So when we're having this LDL go through our veins, the bigger buoyant one isn't the one that's causing the problem, because it just kind of bounces through the veins and moves along without really sticking to anything. Yeah. Most shredded cheeses has a lot of additives to it so that it doesn't stick in the bag. So I don't buy pre-shredded cheese because I shouldn't say I don't. I do. I try to avoid it because there's so much additives in there to help the cheese from sticking. I go live every day from 8:30 at 8:30, and then every day at 3, Monday through Friday. I don't go live on the weekends much. But that LDL, that small molecule LDL, there's a place in our brain that cues us to convert more fats into that small, denser lipid when we have insulin resistance present. Now, that excess of the small one over the buoyant one is what's falling in your veins and sticking and causing those clogs in your veins. So it's not about the fat, as long as we're eating these healthy fats, and egg yolks is one. Don't take the yolks out of your eggs. Just, they're so good for you. But leave them in, and then manage your sugars and get your insulin down. That cholesterol is going to change. My blood pressure was 180 over 150. My triglycerides were out of control. I had a number of things going on before I started the protocol that I'm about to go over again. And within the first year, my blood pressure was normalized and my triglycerides. And now I don't have high blood pressure anymore. I don't have diabetes anymore. I have some other health issues from 40 years of abuse that I'm working on. But this protocol that I did is what got me there. And it was simple, you guys. I didn't do any of the crazy stuff for 2 years in. So in the beginning, I did the tea in the morning and the pre-meal drink before I ate my 2 meals of the day. I ate on a 16/8 fasting, and I didn't snack, and that was it. Those two simple things, 16/8 fast, and that was it. I didn't eat perfect either, and I still lost 50 pounds. So there's that. But this simple system, and you guys, simple is what I want to make you aware of, is this before I head out. And thank you for the compliment, by the way. I didn't mean to skip over saying thank you. I spend after my last live, I sat and listened to so much information and take notes and whatnot. But all right, so if you go to my profile, tap on the picture above this live, and it'll get you to my profile. Right there is the red lights below my picture. Click on that, and that's going to take you to this page. So those 6 simple steps, it's right there. You can download that ebook. There's a website there, you guys, with a bunch of information about the protocol, nutrition panels, all of that. If you're ready to order and try this and get your health under control like I did mine, you just click on the top one, and that's going to take you to this page, and my name will be at the top. Make sure it's up there. If it's not up there and I don't call you, don't blame me, because I don't know if you don't have my link up there. Then just click on this buy now button. It's going to take you to where you order, and you'll see you get 30 tea, 60 the pre-meal drink. Make your choices. Leave it on subscription because it's going to save you about $15 a month, and that's it. That's all I did to get my health back under control. That was it. It wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. I tried everything. Doctors had me on medications, all the stuff. Can I quickly, protein diet and bloating, constipation. So when you're eating high proteins, your body's only converting so much of it into usable factors for your muscles. The rest of it, it's either gonna go into your intestinal tract to be eliminated, or it's going to get stored as fat. So excess protein is actually making you fat, and excess protein can actually make you constipated because it's dumping into your intestinal system. And if you're not getting in enough water, and especially if you're doing those things like creatine and whatnot that are making you retain the water, now your intestinal tract does not have enough to lubricate and move that through. So high protein, yes, if you're not getting in fats with it, and if you're not getting in liquid with it, and if you're getting in too much of it, you're going to get constipated and you're going to get fat, because all of that doesn't just go to muscle, it gets then converted into glucose and then gets stored as fat. I hope that helps. Does the protocol that I'm doing give you deficits? No, because this is not about restricting. It's not like malabsorption of nutrients. That's not the point. If that was the point, when we had fibers in our foods before, we would have had malnourished people all throughout history. What the fibers are doing is it's simply slowing down the conversion of these things into your system so that it doesn't all absorb at once, causing those insulin spikes. So it's not causing malabsorption. Also, this has 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers in it. It has phytonutrients in it that are heart healthy, and it has a complete vitamin and mineral profile in it. So now in this one drink, you're getting a number of things you need throughout the day on the micronutrient factor as well as the macronutrient factor. The tea just naturally is high in components that are really nourishing to the body. So was I taking prescriptions while I was on this program? Great question. I will look into that stuff, because when I am listening to doctors, it does have to do with, okay, your protein does have to do with your activity level as well, but it does also have to do with your weight. That comes from metabolic scientists, and your digestive power. By the way, people on the carnivore diet, I don't know how they're doing it, but the doctors that I'm listening to are saying even with something like that, you need the fiber, because that's what's keeping your gut strong and keeping things moving along and keeping the microbiome healthy in your gut. So back to the prescriptions, yes. In the beginning, I was on 10 different prescriptions. So I had diabetes, I had high blood pressure, my liver was failing, I had pain, I had swelling, I had so many things, vertigo, like all kinds of things going on. So I was on about 10 different medications. In the beginning, I was on medications alongside this. It's real food. It's in the prescriber's digital reference. It doesn't have any adverse reactions with any other medication. So you can absolutely take this with any medication. The one food that's typically negative with some medications is grapefruit, and there's no grapefruit in this. The products are both halal, gluten-free, and I mean, of course, being halal, they're vegan. So it's plant-based products that are just natural products that are not classified as a medication because they're food, okay? But they have enough studies that they are in the PDR. So I want to look that up, Stock Market Secrets, because I need to do some learning on that. The prescriptions, though, about a month in, you guys, I'm a stubborn ass woman in some ways. Like, I'm very loving, but I'm also very stubborn with some things. And I do not like medications. I had 2 family members that were worked for Big Pharma. I worked in doctor's offices for years. I didn't like what was happening with medications. Even after surgery, there were times when I'd only have one pain medication, which I didn't understand how that was affecting my cortisol. But at about a month in, I got mad and I'm like, this is not my life. I'm not taking all these medications, and I threw them away. And then all I've done is the system since, and I've never filled another prescription of those since that time. So it's been almost 2.5 years since I filled a prescription for diabetes, for hypertension, for any of that. And my blood pressure, normally I wake up at about 112/74. no medications. My blood pressure, my blood sugars in the morning are right around 98, sometimes 102. And my triglyceride range, all of it. And any medications, and haven't been since I threw them all in the dumpster 2.5 years ago. So Edna asks, how long do I think it will take to lower your A1C? It depends on you, how consistent you are with the system, and what type of diet you're doing with the system. I don't like to use the word diet. Diet really just means, how we eat. But the more sugars you're eating, the more it's going to take for your A1C to come down. I don't know what your A1C is at. Mine was at 7.4, and I didn't follow any strict diet when I started. Mine was at 7.4. 3 months in, it was at 6.1. 6 months in, it was below 5.6, and now it's like at 5.3. My buddy Jason was at 13.3 when he started. So within 6 to 9 months, if you follow this consistently, barring any other weird things going on in your body, and you eat the way I just said to eat, you should be able to get that back into normal range. And actually, one of the guarantees on this, it's a dual guarantee. It's a satisfaction guarantee, but there's also a blood work guarantee. So Edna, we know that your A1C is 7.8. You have that blood work before you start the system. Give it 3 months and then have your blood work done again. If your A1C, and you've been consistent, and use me, call me, text me, ask questions. If your A1C is not down in those 3 months, then you can request your money back, no questions asked, or if you're just not satisfied. But it does have a guarantee on your A1C, your blood sugars, and your triglycerides. So that's amazing for a natural product to have that. Can I give formula once again for the amount of protein? Oh, yeah, it's 0.8 times per kilogram of weight. So I would just go to Google and convert pounds to kilograms, use the pounds that you're in, and find out what that kilogram is, and then convert it times 0.8, and that should tell you how many grams of protein a day you should be getting in. If I do a 16-hour fast, I don't get in 120 grams of protein. I don't need 120 grams of protein at this point in my life. I get in between 60 and 80 grams of protein, and I've been able to get rid of a whole bunch of visceral fat and a lot of my subcutaneous fat, and naturally build muscle without powerlifting. My muscle tone has come back, Monday I'll be more than happy to talk about that whole cycle of what's happening with muscles and fat in insulin resistance. But you retain more muscle naturally when you're insulin sensitive than when you're not. And again, if you're getting in high amounts of protein, most of it, past a certain phase, what's available to your body. So if you're doing 120 grams of protein, I used to, but I was working out 3 hours a day. I was highly active. I was on my feet all day, and then I worked out, and then, I took in a lot of protein to get to where I was in powerlifting. I don't have that kind of lifestyle anymore, and I want to lose weight, so I'm not getting in that amount of protein. I make sure that I get in 28 to 30 grams of protein when I eat. Now I'm doing 36-12 fast stock market. So I will allow myself 3 meals on those days. I eat within a 12-hour period now, and I just make sure that everything is protein first, and then fats, and then carbohydrates come last. I'm really shocked. Like, sometimes mentally I'm like, ooh, I want something sweet, but my body doesn't need it. So I hope, Beaumont, that you got the answer you needed. Psyllium husk. Let's talk about psyllium husk. It's non-digestible. Psyllium husk works to clean out your gut and make you poop, but it's not going to regulate your blood sugars. There's 7 different types. By the way, if you were to Google what fibers help with blood sugars, there's 3 main ones that come up, and they're all in here. We've had other companies, just for this product, not the 2 products, but just for this product, other companies have tried to replicate this, and they've said they're not even going to do it. It's why this is the only one on the market, because they said they'd have to charge $300 to $500 a month for the same product to even come close to what we're doing. So we have a genius CEO, and he's doing a great job. Our company is also, its parent form has been around since 1903. These products used to be available in pharmacies, but they found that when there's not somebody like me helping you and explaining, it's not just like take a pill. So they wanted to be able to make sure that people are getting guidance, and so that's why we do it this way. It's no longer available in Walmart, Walgreens, any of those. By the way, if you see it on Amazon, Walmart, eBay, you don't get any of the guarantees. The company has not sales by any of us on there. No. Is it a blend of psyllium, chia, insulin, acacia? No, it's not. Go to my profile, and the nutrition panel with all the fibers listed are there. But so there's soluble and unsoluble. Psyllium husk is unsoluble. So we want to be able to move things through. We will also want to be able to encapsulate and slow things down. And that's the blend. So the scientists worked on this for something like 20 years. They've been perfecting it. This has been out in its first form probably 18 to 20 years ago. And then it's just like we've recently moved into a stevia sweetener for all the people who are complaining about sucralose. But yeah, this has been around for a while. It actually came out about the same time as metformin, and guess why you didn't hear about it? Because it got buried because metformin got pushed. All right, you guys, Edna, you're very, very welcome. If you decide to try it, Edna, you'll be looking for emails from me, and then you'll also be getting texts from me along with a video, and then we'll get on the phone when you get it, and we'll help you get started. And then you have access to me as long as you're on the system, okay? So, and there's no charge for that, guys. When I'm helping people, when I'm spending time on the phone with them, giving them support, there's no charge for that. That's just thank you for utilizing the system and getting your health back. This is my day every day. So I will go, cause this lint and this one discolored spot on my shirt's making me nuts. And I do have to get on a call. I appreciate you all. Stock market, amazing that you have so much information. Thanks for adding to the show today, and we'll talk to you all Monday at 8:30, okay? Have a great weekend, you guys. I said this yesterday, I want to say it again. Put your phones down this weekend. Spend time with your family. Thank you. I try to follow the latest science and not the ancient science, because we're all evolving. And what I talk about in a year from now may change based on the new science that comes out too. I'm pretty transparent about that. I'm human, I'm not perfect. But you guys, spend some good time with the ones you love. If you go out to hang out with people, put the damn phone away and spend time with them. This life is too short for us to be in these all the time. Love you all, and we'll see you Monday. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Edna.